Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the final round of our 1986 F1 Series, coming to you from Adelaide in Australia. I am Jason White. I will be your play-by-play announcer for this race, and I am joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez and Ryan Walker. Ryan, good evening.
Good evening, Jason. It's good to be back. And yeah, it's quite hard to believe it's the final round of the season already.
And Alberto, good evening to you as well.
Good evening, Jason. Good evening, Ryan. Good evening, everybody. It's great to be here back, at least for this last round of the season.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe. I know it's kind of a cliche to say it, but it's really hard to believe that we're already at the end of 2023. It's been a really exciting series of races, 3 different championships, the LVT, 1984, actually 4, if you think about it, the Pro Car Series, this series, the 1984 World Endurance Championship, and the Lucas Vidra Trophy. But we're thrilled to have all of you on YouTube to join us for the final race in this particular series. Let's run down first the top 10 in qualifying as time expired. Starting on the pole in a guest drive for McLaren is Cezarius Slipinski with a time of 1 minute 15.489, I believe. In second, about 0.4 of a second back, is Jules Bouchard, the series champion. In third is Ray Rodal. Fourth, Richard Coxon. Fifth, John Team. Sixth, Gabriel Del Piccolo. Seventh, Anders Nilsson. Eighth, at the very last minute in qualifying, Jonathan Asserclinth. Ninth, Oscar Team. And 10th, Brian Janik. So that's your top 10 cars starting in qualifying for this race. So now, here we are at the final race of the series, the Foster's Australian Grand Prix. And this is my personal opinion. It might not be shared by everybody, but in my opinion, I think it's fair to say that this is one of the best, if not the best, temporary street circuits in Formula One history. It has a very wide road, which is unusual for a street circuit. The Jack Brabham Straight provides an excellent opportunity to overtake, and this circuit has produced a lot of great races and memorable finishes over the years. What do you guys think about this Adelaide street circuit? I'll start with you, Ryan.
It's one of my favourites in sim racing. I've always enjoyed racing around here. It's a temporary street track, like you mentioned, and I think just about any series or discipline, it's always good fun to race around here. I myself prefer it in the V8 supercars, but I have done some offline laps with this or these cars, and it's a whole heap of fun.
What about you, Alberto?
I think if you compare this to the other Formula One circuits, obviously Monaco is still in the championship, but also with the ones that have been there historically, you can easily see why this one has so much appeal. I think you put very well the different circumstances, the different characteristics that this track has. It has all the goods of a street circuit, but it also has all the goods of a permanent venue. I think that sums it very well.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching races on this circuit. Even the very infamous 14-lap 1991 race, which was deluged. There were 2 races in history here that were completely overcome with rain. One of them was in 1989, where I remember the thing that made that one special was Nakajima had one of the best finishes of his career, and that's because he was so good at driving in the rain, and he rarely had a chance to show that. And then the other one was the 14-lap 1991 race, which just was a disaster from a point of view of putting on a show for the fans. But they did the smart thing and stopped the race because it was just too dangerous. At that point, it was, as James Hunt so aptly said at the time, it was a lottery. It wasn't a matter of how skilled you were, whether you would stay on the track or not. So why don't we take a look at the point standings now while the practice is going on, or warm-up is going on out there. For the driver's points, we already have the champion, Jules Bouchard, and Richard Coxon is in second place in the championship right now. for the second place to change, it's a slim chance. Raymondall would have to win the race, and Coxon would have to retire for a change to occur there, so that's unlikely. What really is of interest then is the race for third place, where there's only 3 points separating third through fifth in the points table. So that's where the interest lies there. In the case of the Constructors' Championship, it's a very different situation. If you look at this table, there's only 2 points separating John Player's Special Team Lotus and Marlboro McLaren International. And McLaren has a car in the pole, and Bouchard is lined up second. So the real story in this race is who's going to win the Constructors' Championship. Scuderia Ferrari had an outside chance possibly, but I don't think they have any chance today to grab the title, simply because Juha Boss is not racing today. He's not feeling very well. We wish him all the best, hope that he recovers quickly from his illness. And really, that it would take them dominating the race, Ferrari and John Player Special and Marlboro McLaren, to basically have calamities, and that's not likely. So it looks like it's going to be a straight-up fight here for the Constructors' Championship between McLaren and John Player Special. Alberto, what do you think the outcome is going to be there? Or who would you put your money on if you were a betting man?
It's something as always quite complicated, because I think that the Lotus is quite at home here, and they have now two very good quality drivers at the steering. So this is a car that should score very well here. But on the other hand, we all know that the McLaren is so good on fuel management, and fuel management is going to be a key here. So it could go either way, but I think I'm going to put my money on Lotus due to the sheer strength of the driver pairing.
All right, Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, I was thinking about this as well. I think I agree with Alberto. The driver lineup has got a strong quality rather, and I think it's going to be difficult to look past them. And I think the John Player Lotus as well is again, I agree, it's very strongly suited to this track, and I think it's going to be difficult to look by them. But with Adelaide, it's a street track and anything can happen, and yeah, it could, if anything happens with both drivers, the McLaren team could be there to quite literally pick up the pieces and possibly just snatch that Constructors' Championship away.
All right, well, good timing, because here we are with Gabriel Del Piccolo arriving at the final turn. So let's go for one lap with Gabriel Del Piccolo around this Adelaide circuit. He accelerates out of the last turn, coming up to a bridge here, and then there's a very quick flick left-right chicane that takes us uphill here into the part of the track that resembles a street circuit the most. These right-hand and left-hand angled bends. You don't need to shift here. You just have to stay in like second gear and take it to the top of the rev range and then hit the brakes, hit your marks. Now we come to a point where there's a little more room to accelerate. There's a nice gentle left-right bend here that takes us to Stag Turn, which is another right-hand corner. Now we accelerate downhill and then uphill slightly for this very, very critical, quick, it's like a flick right, but it kind of goes to the left-hand side just as you get there, so it's easy to get it wrong. Now Gabriel accelerates down the long Jack Brabham straight. This will be the fastest part of the course, and the part of the course where you can overtake, or if you're a lapped car, let people by very easily. Gabriel turns in. This is the slowest part of the course, this hairpin. Accelerating now, back to the left. And then another left-hand bend here. It's easy to get this one wrong and go off into the tires there. I've seen that before. Now accelerating through this left and right-hand bend here. Gentle. Lots of room on either side here in this case. Now down to the last corner on the course, turning right again. Accelerating up through the gears, and that's one lap of Adelaide, Australia. I got to tell you guys, when the Australian Grand Prix moved to Melbourne, I was really bummed out because this is one of my favorite circuits. Not that Melbourne isn't a good one; it's a good circuit, but it probably was moved to Melbourne just because it's a bigger city in Australia and probably more potential for money. Made Adelaide as kind of it's known colloquially as the city of churches. It's not really when you think of Australia, you think of Melbourne or Sydney. You don't think of Adelaide necessarily. So from a commercial point of view, I'm guessing that's why they moved it there. But yeah, this ought to be a really fantastic race. And with the Drivers' Championship decided, we could focus on the battle between McLaren and Lotus. I was here earlier to watch the qualifying session, and it was an interesting one. Bouchard immediately grabbed the top spot with a 1:15.880, and that was only on his second lap, so he was ready to establish dominance. The first drivers that responded to this were Ślepinski and Gabriel Del Piccolo, and they slotted in second and third. And at this point, there weren't many heavy hitters showing their hand yet. Indeed, there were only 17 drivers on the circuit, so it was still too early to decide who was going to set the top time. And again, Juha was absent due to illness, so that was a noticeable person gone. And the session was not without its dramas. Ślepinski had an incident on his sixth lap, which cost him some valuable time. And then Coxon headed out in his ultra-fast Williams Honda, and right away I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's a pole lap coming up. And he spun on the last corner, nullifying what would have been a very, very good lap. After repairs, Ślepinski charged out it again on the track, and he laid down a 1:15.489, which gave him the top spot. This proved to be his pole position time. Coxon advanced to fourth place on his fifth lap with a 1:18.073. With 35 minutes to go, Bouchard headed out one more time, and he was on a flyer when he lost control in stag turn. He avoided contact with the wall, but this effectively spoiled his lap. Then Ray Riddall came up the chart with a 1:17.1, making him third fastest. Bouchard had yet another incident with 20 minutes to go. That effectively ended his challenge, because you're only allowed 12 laps in qualifying in this series. Then Team ended his session with a 1:17.1. That made him fourth fastest at the time. And Gabriel had an accident with 17 minutes left. At this point, Gabriel, Coxon, and Ray Riddall, they all had a chance to improve their grid positions. Another accident for Gabriel ended his opportunity. Ray then improved to a 1:16, but that was still third fastest. Coxon then slotted in fourth fastest, 1:17.1, and that was effectively the end of qualifying for the top 10. Even so, Ślepinski went out again and tried to improve his time and ended up spinning, so that was it. But it was a kind of a harem-scarum qualifying session, lots of incidents, robbing people of what would have been good laps. But in any case, so here we are on the screen now. We have the McLaren and the Lotus right together. Bouchard, the champion of the series, and Ślepinski in a one-off drive, our pole sitter. I'm thinking to myself, who's going to get off the line best? Is it going to be Bouchard or Ślepinski? I mean, Ślepinski obviously has less experience in these cars, but Bouchard has the experience, and it'll be interesting to see which of the two of them get off the line first. What other big stories do you think are going to play out today, gentlemen?
Yeah, I think obviously Adelaide, we know it's a great track, but it's a street track, and also you've got that tight, twisty turn 1, 2, and 3 section where turn 1 incidents can happen just because everyone's so bunched up, they're all close together. So getting a good start, getting through turn 1, 2, and 3 is going to be absolutely crucial. But I think the big story for me is that battle in the Drivers' Championship obviously has already been wrapped up, but
yes,
I think that battle for third place in the championship could be one to watch. It's so close in the standings. I don't know who's going to come out on top of that battle, but I think overall I'm just looking forward to this race, and hopefully everyone in the early stages is sensible and doesn't try and be a hero.
Yeah, we've seen incidents on the start before, where in real life I'm referring to when people tried to advance too quickly, and like I think in the 1992 race, Griard and Pierluigi Martini were out of the race on lap 1, right at that corner. So it's very easy to get into an accident on that first chicane before the race is even basically taken shape. Alberto, who do you think is a good driver to watch today?
Yeah, I think Alberto's had a disconnection or disconnect.
Oh, shoot.
So I don't know if he's having technical issues, or maybe he's had to restart his PC.
All right, well, he can come back on at his leisure, but in any case, let's see what time we have here. I'm going to bring up the. We got 3 minutes to go in the session, and there you have the drivers on track right now in their race trim. This is interesting. Coxon is the fastest so far in race trim. Bouchard is second fastest, and Del Piccolo's third fastest. So Coxon may not have been able to snatch the pole in qualifying, but he may have a race car that's very good for the race. We know that historically, Nigel Mansell's championship ended. His championship hopes ended when he blew a tire on the Jack Brabham Straight in 1986. And that's the car that Cox is driving now. Hopefully the same fate will not befall him. But as we've said, late in the series here, Coxon really came on strong when he switched from Benetton to Williams. It's just unfortunate for him that he did it so late in the season without a chance to really challenge for the championship. But here he goes back out on the track again. It looks like he's in a very comfortable position for the race. Car seems to respond to his commands well, and that's an interesting thing too, Ryan, because this is a car that has a Honda engine, and the Honda engine is very violent in its power delivery. When the power comes on, it cracks on. It's not a sympathetic power plant, and somehow Coxon is able to drive with that impediment, or somehow he's able to make it work for him. Why do you think that is?
It could be simply just down to driving style. I mean, it could be just suiting Coxon's driving style, the way he likes to set the car up. I know sometimes maybe some drivers don't like to be in a I wouldn't say a front-running car, but a really quick car. They say a Williams or a Team Lotus car or something like that. They maybe prefer to be in a lesser powered car, maybe one that likes to run in the mid pack or towards the back of the field. Just for the fact that it probably suits their driving style. Yeah, they might be. It's a slower car, but when you think about it, that could it's not always a bad thing.
Well, I think the story of Formula One in the 80s and 90s was one of designers coming up with cars that were very fast. But here's the problem: you have to be comfortable in the car to be fast. You can make a car that, like, you can put a robot into and it would find the limits, but if you put a human being in there, if the car isn't comfortable to drive, if it's hard to control, you're not going to be able to extract the maximum from it. And for some reason, this is a good marriage, Coxon and this car. I know that in the hands of other people, this car would not be quick simply because of its strange nature, the fact that the power comes on so suddenly. So, anyway, I think we're looking forward to a really exciting Australian Grand Prix. I'm really happy to be bringing it to everybody on YouTube here. We've got a few seconds to go here, and then we will go to the race session. Don't forget that we also have one more event for ISO that's coming up to end our 2023 season. It's an event that comprises the rounds 5 and 6 of the Lucas Feeder Trophy. It's also an Australian event by coincidence. The 1997 Australian Touring Cars at Winton. This takes place next Sunday and likely will not be broadcast, but several good cars are still available. So those of you who like tin tops, and we know there are many of you out there who do, go to the ISO forum, grab a car, and help us close out 2023 in full tilt fashion with these two races. It should be great fun. All right, here we go to the race session. 82 laps are on the board for this Australian Grand Prix. Let's move forward to the front of the grid here. Cesarius is waiting as long as he can because, as we've been told, fuel can be quite tough on this circuit due to the high amount of throttle. So lift and coast will definitely be of the order of the day. Schlapinski waiting until the last minute to get to the grid so he burns as little fuel as possible. We're also expecting one pit stop at least. The brakes will have a high work rate here, obviously, because of the Brabham Straight. As far as tires, we can expect super softs and softs. I'll go through car updates as we have time to. One interesting wrinkle in this race is for the Tyrrell team. They did not have the luxury of a qualifying motor for this race. Why, I do not know, but that's one of the things to take note of as we populate the grid with the cars, and we'll be off on the reconnaissance lap very shortly. And we'll run through the grid for you. And away we go. On the pole, in his guest drive for McLaren, is Cesarius Schlapinski. In second, Jules Bouchard. John Player, special team loan as the champion of the Drivers' Series. Starting third, Ray Radal, Marlboro McLaren International. Fourth, Richard Coxon. Watch him on the start. He's had some brilliant starts from 2 rows back, and he's in Cannon Williams Honda team number 5. Starting fifth is John T. McKeep Ligier. Sixth is Gabriel Del Piccolo for Motor Racing Developments. Seventh is Anders Nilsson for West Zach Speed Racing. That's an interesting car to see him in. Eighth is Jonathan Nasco, the top qualifying and only qualifying Ferrari. Ninth, Oscar T. McKeep Ligier. 10th, Brian Janik, West Zach Speed Racing. 11th, Giovanni Centorami, Dad and General Team Tyrrell. 12th, Dave Miller in the other Benetton Formula. We haven't seen one yet, so that is the first one, sorry. 13th is Grant Radal, driving for Motor Racing Developments. He joined the server quite late and didn't have a chance to really do a proper qualifying session. 14th, David Yunt in a guest drive for Lotus. 15th, Mikael Drexler, Team Haas USA. 16th, Dario Appa in the Osella Squadra Course entry number 21. 17th, Nicholas Kirsten, Jolly Club AGS. 18th, Moises Pereira, Data General Team Tyrrell. 19th, Francois Remen. We'll be talking about his car later. His car actually has engine updates that the other Team Haas entry does not have. 20th is Bruno Chacon, Barclay Aeros BMW. 21st, Tim Hilla, Benetton Formula. 22nd, and the last car I believe on the grid is Fernando Portiero, Barclay Aeros BMW. So that's all. We have 22 cars. 26 maximum usually is what we have, but end of the year, usually we have depleted fields because of the holidays. People are busy. So here's Ślepinski coming up to the line very slowly, Ryan.
Yeah, obviously, he doesn't want to back them up too much, but he also, I guess he's thinking ahead here. He doesn't want to sit in the grid too long, as it looks like.
Whoops! What was that? Was that a disco?
Yeah, I was about to say, did Jules Bouchard just disappear?
Bouchard disappeared, so likely we're going to see a restart of the warm-up session. If there is a admin who saw that, we'll see what happens. But that means that the grid will be empty, and that's going to be devastating for Lotus, because they're in a straight-up fight, as we said, for the Constructors' Championship, and their lead car has disappeared. Now we're going to have to watch very carefully to see if the admins catch this. We are just the broadcasters. We don't run the race. So cars are filing in, waiting for starters' orders, and it appears we're going for it, so stand by for the start of the Australian Grand Prix. And the race is underway! Ooh, a little bit of jockeying back there, but it appears that Ślepinski is not going to get to the first corner first, and in fact, it is, look at that, I called it, it's Coxon. Coxon takes the lead, going into the chicane, and he's got John Team in second place, so a huge shuffle of cars as we go through the right-hand, left-hand bends here. Coxon in the lead, Team in second. Ślepinski and Radal, the McLarens, are third and fourth, respectively. People looking for racing room here as we come through this left-right section. But I had a feeling that this was going to happen. Coxon got out in front, and he established himself right away. He's very good in these starts, and the fact that he was fastest in the warm-up, the big surprise, though, was John Team all the way up to second place from his start in the grid. He was fifth, so he advanced 3 places. Here they come now, down to the end of the straight. So that's a huge disappointment, Ryan, that we lost the key Lotus combatant, not to take anything away from David Yunt, but that effectively makes it impossible almost for them to defend themselves in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this point with Bouchard being out of the race, and like you said, David Yunt is not a terrible driver, maybe not as quick as some of the people up at the front, but at this point you would probably have to say the advantage is swinging into the hands of the McLaren team. Unless
David Yunt really gets up the field quickly, I don't know that we're going to see Lotus take that championship. It looks like, I mean, McLaren is excellently placed here with cars third and fourth. Schlapinski had a great start, even though he lost 2 places. He didn't get into any trouble. There was no wheel banging going on. And he is now stalking John Team. Here we're on board with Schlapinski now as they go through Stag Turn. Now dipping down this valley here for this very, very tough right-hander, which forces you out left, and then you have a very narrow corridor to get on the Jack Brabham straight, and he's actually, looks like he's turned up the boost here, and he's coming out alongside Team, and there he goes. Schlapinski takes second place as they enter the hairpin. So already Schlapinski has put John Team in a McLaren sandwich, and he's got Ray Riddall right behind him here. On board now with Ray. Ray had that great win in the alternately colored McLaren, the yellow and white one, at the Portuguese Grand Prix. Remember that race?
Yep, I do indeed. And that livery that you were talking about, I think it was I can't remember if it was a tribute livery. It was a special one anyway, since Katie Rosberg announced that he's retiring from Formula 1 at the end of the 86 season.
Yeah, after a very successful career, and later on his son, of course, would become world champion. Interesting there, we saw Ray go over the curb, and it actually slowed him a bit, so I doubt this is one of these circuits where bounding over the curbs can get you ahead. That happens on another Australian circuit, Surfers Paradise. We've seen that with Indy cars, where if you bound over the curbs, you actually gain time. But here I don't think you do. I think it's actually detrimental in this situation. And right behind Ray Riddall are the 2 Brabhams looking to play spoiler in this race. Oh, but here goes Ray. He's right in the slipstream of John, pulls out, and he easily motors on by. So now we've got McLaren's in second and third place. John Team is now back to 4th place. Coxon continues to lead. The gap to Coxon now is already 6 seconds. That's how quickly his car is performing here. As we look as the cars arrive here at the second hairpin, 2 McLarens in second and third. And it looks like everybody's doing all right. Everybody is running. There are no retirements except for the absence of Jules Bouchard, who I'm sure probably wants to punch a hole in his monitor after what happened there. He was on the recon lap and suddenly disappeared from our view, and the only explanation we can say is it's probably a disco, and at that point it was up to the admins as to whether they were going to start the race or not, and the race started without Jules Bouchard, which is a real shame. Coxon again as he enters the turn that leads onto the straight, and you can see he's building a huge gap here between himself and the McLarens. But right now, I mean, this is a McLaren is in an excellent spot to win the Constructors' Championship, and we're going to have to look a little closer at the Drivers' Championship, for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, because that's a little bit more of a granular situation. So Coxon once again showing how good he is in this car in a race situation, pacing himself beautifully, not doing anything silly. I very rarely see Coxon out of control in this car, despite the nature of the power plant, which we talked about. But on the other hand, I wouldn't count out the McLarens, because these are very smooth cars, easy to drive for everybody. I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't like to drive these cars. If you're Schlapinski, Ryan, what is your strategy right now?
Yeah, if I'm Schlapinski, obviously with him pretty much in a one-off outing, I think if you're Schlapinski, you kind of you don't want to start over driving or pushing too much to try and close that gap to Cox. And I think at the moment with him, he's pulling away from Ray Riddall behind him. So I think just keep doing what he's doing and just doing his own thing and not worry about Coxon or even Riddell behind him. Just get into that mindset, get into the zone, and just start hitting your marks.
Yeah, you have to run your own race at some points. You can't just get concerned about the fact, okay, we have our second DNF now, or a DNS was, I guess, what you could classify Bouchard as. Oscar Team is out of the race for some reason. But Cesarius is actually putting some distance between himself and third place. So he may try to make a charge here. Oh my goodness, I think there might have been a problem here. Yes, John Team has dropped to 6th place. Not sure what happened there. He might have had some kind of a incident further back. Yeah, here it is. It happened at the turn leading onto the straight. Let's see what happens here. Or it must have, no, it must have happened before that. In any case, he is all the way down in 6th place now, which is, he must have had some kind of an on-track incident. Behind Ray Radal. And look at the, and Ray Radal is right with him, so he must have had an incident too sometime. But look at the Brabhams. They're moving up very nicely. They are now 3rd and 4th with Gabriel, and that's really amazing. Grant Radal, I mentioned, had no time in the qualifying session to really do anything. He arrived very late. I can only speculate what kind of practice he had offline or during other sessions, but he's already 4th. He's already behind his teammate. That's a huge jump for him. He didn't even start in the top 10, so excellent work by Grant.
Absolutely, and yeah, Grant Radal has always been a quick driver, especially in this series. But there's always been some sort of a Achilles heel or a weak link with him in this car, or just in general. As when he's doing well, he always seems to have terrible luck with blowing engines.
Well, that's GDP too. I mean, the BMW is not a engine that takes to being pushed too hard, in spite of the fact that it's so fast and produces so much power. All right, so things have settled down to some extent now. The gap now actually is quite large now between Richard Coxon and Ślepinski. It is now 11.8 seconds. Now that's going to accordion back and forth because of the nature of the street circuit, but still, Ślepinski has a long way to go if he wants to challenge Coxon even in this early stage. We're only on lap 8 now, or lap 7 out of 82, so there's a long way to go. Pit stops obviously are going to be a huge problem here for people. When do you take the stop? And fuel saving obviously is going to be a big deal. I think that the person who's the most judicious with fuel is going to be the one who's rewarded in the end. Don't be surprised if we see several cars run out of fuel before this race is over. I could definitely see it happening because of all the big acceleration and bringing it back down. Here is Bruno Chacon. He is about to be lapped by Coxon, so it appears that Bruno, I don't think he's made a pit stop. I think this is just finally reaching the back of the grid. So Coxon gets by him without too much trouble. The gap is now 12 seconds, so it appears Ślepinski can't make much of an impression on Coxon at the moment.
Indeed, and you were talking about fuel saving as well. I think the person that could be fuel saving at the moment, just watching him earlier on, that he wasn't really fighting anyone when they went by, is it could be, I think John Team could be in a bit of a fuel save mode at the moment, because he wasn't really fighting anyone when they got a run on him. So I think he's probably just thinking of the long game and just doing a little bit of fuel save and maybe running a lower boost setting at the moment.
Riding on board now with Gabriel Del Piccolo, who has been closing on Cesarius Ślepinski. They're now in the Jack Brabham straight. He's too far back to make an attack at this point, but definitely he has been closing. We noted earlier that Ray and John Team had dropped back and that the Brabhams both had advanced. So we'll see if Gabriel can make a challenge here for second place. He's definitely within striking distance. And that car in front of Ślepinski there is not Coxon. That is, I believe, Bruno Chacon, yes. So they're now catching up with Bruno and will lap him as we complete lap number 8, starting lap number 9. So the race isn't even a tenth of the way old, and we've had major developments with Jules Bouchard disconnecting before the race even started. And Coxon, oh my goodness, oh no! There's contact between, oh my goodness, Lipinski, Del Piccolo, and Chacon. That was not a good situation, obviously, and nobody wanted that to happen. But this is what can happen on the street circuit when you come on lap traffic. Miscommunications can happen. Look at that. See, you can see what happened there. Lipinski went to the right-hand side to overtake. Chacon didn't know he was there and squeezed him a bit, and there goes Chacon across the track, ricocheting into Del Piccolo. My goodness, what a disaster. That's awful for everybody involved.
Yeah, and I'm just watching the replay from my side as well, and it looks like I don't know if Chacon maybe just lifted slightly, and it's maybe he just caught out Slapinski and the car, a couple of other cars behind him. It was just, I know it wasn't intentional. It's just one of those things on a street circuit where it's just really you don't really have anywhere to just jump out the way.
Well, Slapinski, I think it's fair to say, initiated that entire a series of events because he tried to overtake. He went to overtake Chacon on the right-hand side, and Chacon didn't know he was there or was not expecting him to do that, and drifted to the right, clipping the front wing from Slapinski's car, and then Chacon bounced back to the left and hit Del Piccolo. So this is a huge development. Slapinski's car, it's not just a matter of the wing. His car is damaged suspension-wise, otherwise he'd be going a bit faster than what we're seeing here. He can't even make practically the track hairpin turn here. He's just trying to stay out of the way. But what a disaster for Slapinski. He was looking good. This is going to obviously throw open more possibilities with the Constructors' Championship now because we're down to one McLaren at the front. If it'll depend on what happens with David Yunt. But here comes Slapinski into the pits finally. I don't know how you assign fault in that incident, Ryan. I think it's kind of shared between Bruno and Cesarius, because maybe Cesarius shouldn't have tried that maneuver. I know he wanted to get by him quickly, but there was a very narrow corridor there, and Bruno probably had no conception that Slapinski was going to do that. I think if I were in his car, I would have been surprised too. What do you think?
Oh, it's a tough one, but I think, like you say, Bruno was obviously not expecting Cesarius to maybe go for that move or close up quicker than he expected. I think if it was me, I think I'd probably just put the blame on Cesarius for being just maybe overly eager or too eager to try and get by as quickly as possible when he should have been a little bit more patient and more aware.
Yeah, well, effectively what it's done is calm things way down at the front. Coxon is still out in front by about 12 seconds. The new second-place car is Grant Radal. Third is Ray Radal, and fourth is John Team. That's the closest battle in the top five. Fifth is Anders Nilsson in a West Zaxpeed car. I don't believe we've seen a West Zaxpeed car in the top five this year. So that bodes very well for him. If he can keep this going, that's going to be the best result for a Zaxpeed in a Grand Prix this year if he can keep it going. It's good for him. Sixth is Jonathan Asselklint, but he's just had an incident of his own. He's run wide at Stag Turn, but he seems to be doing okay. He's sixth right now. Yeah, his car is okay. He just had a bit of a odd encounter with Stag Turn, and that can happen if you judge the corner incorrectly. So now he's heading down the long straightaway. Seventh is David Yunt. So here we go. Yunt is finding his legs in this Lotus. So we'll see what can happen here. Ray is in third. David Yunt is in seventh, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Tim Hilla, lighting up the brakes, is in eighth. Ninth is Dave Miller, his teammate for this race. And then rounding out the top 10 is Centurami in zero. 11th is Daria Epa in a Acela. That's a surprise, actually. 12th is Brian Janik, so he's lost a couple of places from the start of the race. Drexler is 13th. Remen is 14th. Remen's engine is actually a higher compression engine than the one that is powering Drexler's car. And here we've got Gabriel Del Piccolo, who's all the way down in, well, he's in that group, but he's all the way down in 17th place. Nicholas Kirsten is 15th. 16th is Portiero. Oh, yeah, well, Del Piccolo's still in the pits. That's why, in fact, both Del Piccolo, and you can see in the right corner of the screen, both him and Chlapinski are still in the pits with extensive repairs being done. So they are effectively out of this race. Really disappointing. Moises Pereira also out of the race. Chacon is making a stop. He was involved in that incident too, so all three of these cars are out of contention. Oh my goodness, Coxon has a bit of a loose moment in the zigzag section here of the track, that you might call it. Still leads by about 12 seconds, but man, he nearly lost control of the car there. He doesn't want to do that too often. It's one of the rare times I've seen Coxon lose control of the car, or almost lose control.
Yeah, and that's one thing with street track as well, but you might think it's easy as well, just driving around, but obviously you've got to keep your concentration and keep your focus for every lap, because a street track is such as Adelaide, as we all know, especially in real life, it can if you lose your concentration for 1 second, it can bite. Obviously, I don't know, obviously it never happened in the 80s, but I remember 1995, I believe it was, David Coulthard was coming into the pits, and they just basically lost his concentration for 1 second and ended up hitting the pit wall in the pit entry.
Yeah, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often, actually, because it's a very disorienting thing when you're coming into the pits and suddenly are faced with the situation of driving at a very low pace. But in any case, we're watching here John Team, who's not all that far away from the McLaren of Ray Radal. We'll see if he can close in any way on that car, but Nilsson's still 5th, Asserklint the 6th, Yunt in 7th place, 8th and 9th are the two Benettons, and here is Giovanni Centorami, who is coming out of the hairpin just behind Del Piccolo. That's an odd situation because Del Piccolo's obviously been fixed. His car is now quick, although he's lost lots of time. So we'll have to see what happens here. I mean, if I were Centorami, I'd probably let him go on ahead and just be content with where I am and see if I can catch Miller eventually here. Then we got the two Haas entries running together. I mentioned that there's a higher compression engine in Remen's car. Maybe he's using that to his advantage now. It appears he is. Oh my goodness, there's contact between the two Lolas. Carl Haas will not be appreciative of that, but they are running in competition with each other, so we'll see what happens here. We have a rare Lola fight. Wonder if Francois got any damage there. Not enough to consider going into the pits, it appears. Looks like he's driving very much with fuel in mind, as Radal is coming up to lap him now, the 3rd place car. The whole lift and coast concept for me, Ryan, has always been very strange. What kind of mindset do you have to be in for that? Because it's alien to me and probably to a lot of people watching.
Yeah, lift and coast, it's one of those things that, excuse me, sometimes that you've kind of just got to, what's the best way I can describe it? You've got to kind of like self-discipline yourself to do lift and coast if you want to feel safe. Yeah, you might lose maybe a few tenths or maybe half a second, but obviously if you want to try and make the end of a race, sometimes you've got to sacrifice pace and maybe lower the boost as well to save fuel, and if that means having to do lift and coast, then that's sometimes you've just got to do that. It can be frustrating, it can be boring, but it's just sometimes you've got to do that. From what I've learned in doing endurance races. And
in a lot of cases, it could be dangerous because you have in your mind this notion of how you're supposed to drive, and it can be very hard. I mean, you're actually safer as a driver if you're driving at the pace that you expect to drive or that you've been practicing at. If you suddenly have to slow down and it throws your pace off, you're in danger of making a mistake, are you not?
Absolutely, it's one of those things. I think for something like say like open wheel racing or sprint races, it's better just to try and keep up your pace. But obviously, if you have to fuel save, you've got to kind of sacrifice some pace as well. But I think in something like this, the lifting and coast is probably not the best thing to do, especially if you've got someone right behind you. It might catch them out and they'll run into the back of you. So for something like this, I prefer just to lower the boost and try and maybe try and not use high revs as well. Maybe just short shift as well to save some fuel.
As we're thinking about it too here with fuel saving, looking at Dario Epa in the Osella, this is one team that may not need to worry about fuel saving too much because of the pace of the car. It's no doubt the slowest car on the grid. No disrespect to Dario, but he's driving the very slowest car in the race historically, and they are not going to do the full 82 laps, obviously. They're going to be lapped probably at least 2, if not 3 times. So that helps them in terms of fuel. They're allotted the same amount of fuel everybody else is, but they don't have to necessarily be as worried about it as the front runners. So that's one silver lining about driving one of these kind of cars.
Absolutely. I mean, as like I said, it takes me back to the point I made before about driving a slower car. It doesn't have as much power.
Yes.
But with the advantage of that is a lesser power car doesn't use as much fuel. So it's a good point that you bring up. But Darius he could probably make it to the finish and not having to worry about fuel saving. Unlike the other drivers, say your Coxon, your Geraint Ridal or Ray Ridal, Anders Nielsen, or just to name a few examples, they're having to be a little bit more wary, more heads up about fuel saving, and just having to be very careful of that boost button.
So here comes Coxon down to the final corner. He's about to put a lap on Nicholas Kirsten. He starts his 18th lap now, so we're past the 1/10 point distance of the Australian Grand Prix. Looks very calm, doesn't appear to be any histrionics. Not that we would expect that from Coxon, but he looks really good. And about 12 seconds back, that's a constant gap. It doesn't seem to be going up or down, is Grant Ridal. I mean, here's a guy that I think really has to take it easy with his car if he wants to make it to the end. I think everybody knows that when they're driving versus a Brabham. There's that little voice in the back of your head that goes, well, they may have pushed the car too far, so we'll see what happens. But there he goes, putting a lap on Dario. And in third place, all by himself now, a very solid third place, which to say there's lots of time in front of him and lots of time behind him, is Ray Ridal. So the taking a look once again at the constructor standings, just so everyone, those of you who joined late, know what we're talking about. John Player Special Team Lotus leads right now in the Constructors' Championship by 2 points over McLaren. In the position that Ray is in now, he would score 4 points, which would then put McLaren over the top and make them the Constructor Champion. The only Lotus running at the time is David Yunt, who is in 7th and out of the points right now. So this is going to be an interesting thing to watch. We'll see how it pans out, but there is only one Lotus and one McLaren in this race, and one Ferrari, which effectively puts them out of the championship hunt points-wise, because Juha cannot race today, not feeling well.
Yeah, it was sad to see or hear about Juha having to miss this race. He's one of the drivers that I like to watch in this series, or any series on ISO, for example. But he'll be back next season, no doubt about it. And still, he's got a good replacement, or did have good replacements with Cesarius Slepinski. So yeah, it's not going the way for one of the McLarens, but still, it's good to see Ray Ridal up there for the Marlboro McLaren team, and doing a solid job up in third place.
Yeah, and his son up in second place right now. It'll be interesting to see at what point these guys decide they can change rubber. Obviously, with less fuel load, you can run tires for longer and expect them to perform better in the second stint. So it's not uncommon that drivers will stop earlier. I would be surprised if we see stops in the neighborhood of lap 35 or something, or earlier even. And drivers may switch from softs to super softs if they think that they can gain an advantage and that the car can handle the softer rubber, or the softer rubber can handle the car. That's probably the better way to put it. So yeah, things are pretty spread out at the front here. Let's go back and see what else is happening towards the back here. Yunt's still 7th. 8th is Miller. 9th is Centurami, who's just gotten around Tim Hilla. So there's an advancement. Centurami's had a few good runs in this Tyrrell. And I think it's fair to say that he's getting more out of it than the car really offers him. I think Tim Hilla might have just hit the wall. Because he's suddenly going very slowly, or slower than usual. Let's look at a replay here inside the car, see what happened here. No, he just had a bit of a weird situation with curbs. He didn't hit the wall, thankfully. So, nothing to worry about there. He's just getting his bearings back. But there goes Grant Riddall, overtaking him. So, we only have 9 cars on the lead lap now. That's a pretty torrid pace, considering that we're only 19 laps in.
Yeah, I was about to say. That we're only about, like you say, we're only about probably pretty much coming up to 21 laps left. 21 laps into this race, and I think to see a few cars being lapped already, it's just showing that on the one hand the pace is really quick from the likes of Coxon, but also. Some other drivers have been having issues, as we've seen earlier on, and it's just Adelaide already they start.
Oh wow! Look at this, 3 wide going into the chicane, and Dario Epa. Oh my goodness! Brian Janik sweeps by on the outside and says, "No, you don't." I'm taking that back, and this is an interesting battle, one which we don't see too often. You have Brian Janik in a West Zach speed, and he's being followed by Dario in an Osella, and Dario almost had him there. So we get to see an Osella in action for once. This is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. An Osella in action in a bit of a battle. It's not something that we've seen this season.
No, this is rare.
Yeah, this is rare. And as soon as I saw that 3 wide moment heading down to turn 1, I thought, yeah, I'm not even racing, and I still had to hold my breath watching that.
Yeah, I mean that was a very sudden. Situation there, but I think it might have been precipitated by the fact that they were lapping Portiero, and that slowed up everybody for a minute and gave Epa the opportunity now. Watching from his cockpit, you can see Brian ahead. I think Brian might now have a chance to pull out a bit of a gap, but still Dario is in 12th place, and with an Osella, that's a pretty amazing feat. Brian late on the grinders there, but don't count out Dario for a top 10 finish before this race is over.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think just watching the now, he's doing a good job at the moment, and close to the top 10 or just outside the top 10, and doing a good job of that West Zach Speed racing car, and the other Zach Speed with Nielsen still doing well up in 5th place.
And certain drivers flourish on certain tracks. I'm getting the feeling here that Dario enjoys this circuit, just watching him drive it.
Yeah, I completely forgot. I thought you were talking about both Zach Speed cars, but Darius is doing Dario rather is doing a good job of that Osella at the moment, down in 12th, and you never know. He could clinch a top 10 result, and I believe that would be the best result for an Osella this season.
I think we've had a top 10 before in the hands of, I believe it was Gilles Taux in another race. I believe so. We've had at least one top 10. with this car. So, but anytime you have a top 10 with this car is pretty amazing. So here's Miller about to be lapped by Grant Riddall. So yeah, the pace is nuts here. I mean, people are going to be, it makes me wonder how many people are going to make the 90% rule or whatever it is to be classified in the race. We might find some people who fall short of that. I hope not. In sixth place. That's pretty good considering that he started much lower on the grid than everybody else. But he's another guy who's really used to this car. It seems to gel with him really well. And I don't think it's just because it's former Johansson, former countryman who drove the car. I think it's something about the nature of the car is really fun for him. There was a yellow flag there for a moment. Somebody might have gone into the runoff area, but that's another nice thing about this Adelaide circuit. The runoff areas are long and wide, so if you have a problem, you're not going to get somebody else involved, and the chances of rejoining are actually pretty high, provided you don't hit anything.
Yep, yeah, good to see Jonathan having a good race as well. Currently not really under any pressure from anyone, but still doing a good job of that Ferrari. And yeah, I think Jonathan took Anders Nielsen's seat in that Ferrari, if I'm correct, because I believe that Nielsen was in that Ferrari for most of the season. I think.
The entire season has been Juha and Isakland in the Ferraris.
Oh, my bad. I was getting mixed up there. I believe something's happened.
No, Dario just came very close to spinning out, but he did not. Please continue.
No, I was just saying I kept thinking that Nielsen was in the Ferrari for some reason. I'm probably thinking of not. I think it was last season he was in the Ferrari, but I could be wrong. But
you may be right. Yeah. I don't remember, to be honest.
But yeah, apart from that, there's not really much action going on. It seems to have settled down at the moment.
Well, I'll show you our trivia question now, and then we can have the answer later on, because we didn't have a chance to talk about it earlier. The trivia question is, who is tied with Australian driver Davison, for the most Australian Grand Prix wins at 4. This includes non-championship races, if you're wondering why you've never heard of this guy. Is it A, Ayrton Senna, B, Michael Schumacher, or is it C, Jack Brabham? We'll have the answer later on in the broadcast for you. And as we talked about, this is probably going to be our final broadcast of 2023. Holidays are here, and we've been doing a lot of planning for the 1991 series, which is wrapping up all the planning pretty quickly here. And it won't be long before we're selecting cars for the 1991 F1 series and the British Touring Car. I think it's either British or Australian Touring Car Championship that we're going to run next year. In any case, tin tops are back at ISO, and I know a lot of people are really happy about that because there's several drivers that we have regulars who really enjoy driving those cars. So that's coming up fairly soon. The last 2 races that we will run for this calendar year will be to close out the 2023 Lucas Vidra Trophy. They're both at Winton. They're both with Australian touring cars. I was practicing the other day trying to find a way to make a front-wheel drive car grip really well. I think I'm getting the hang of it. But anyway, that ought to be an interesting couple of races, and there's still plenty of cars available. So head on over to our forum and check it out. You can see our forum link on the main YouTube page, and check out and see if there's any cars there that you want to drive. There's a wide variety of cars available at this point. And just what I thought was going to happen has happened. the Detroit Demon, Brian Janik, is pulling away steadily from Dario. So that whole situation there, that 3 wide going into the chicane, that was precipitated by a lapping situation, I think. As we have yet another yellow situation. I'm not sure what that is. Somewhere, something's going on. Is it down this escape road? No. I have no clue why we got a yellow flag here, but I guess sometimes yellow flags are tripped by cars going into the pits. But I didn't see anyone in the pits either, so I don't know. Maybe someone was just driving slowly, I guess. I don't know. So Yunt is still in 7th place, and he has about 12 seconds between himself and Ray Radal. That's interesting. Ray Radal is... Or I'm sorry, hang on. Yes, it is. It's Ray Radal. Ray Radal has fallen to 6th place. Somewhere along the line, Radal had an incident. And he fell to... let's have a look at the... at his lap times here and see if it was a pit stop. He was in the last sector, so it appears that he must have made a pit stop, because it was either that or he's had a incident of some kind. Let's see what his... he had an incident earlier. It looks like he's back to competitive speed, so my guess is that he either went into pits or made a pit stop, one to the other. I'm not sure. In any case, it puts him back to 6th and 1 point, and that would effectively... If they stayed that way, it would give the Constructors' Championship to Lotus, and they would win by 1 point. But Yunt is 12 seconds behind Radal. We'll have to see if he closes in and is able to take a point. It's really going to depend on attrition at the front, wouldn't you say, Ryan?
Absolutely. I think it's definitely going to come down to attrition, and I think with the attrition that's already went on, it's allowed several drivers to move up through the field, especially the likes of David Junt up into 7th place with the JPS Lotus, and doing a good job in 7th place. And I think again, if drivers in front of him maybe start having issues, he could be there to possibly pick up another 1 or 2 places and possibly finish in the points. But obviously we've still got a long way to go.
Long way to go. And that was Bruno Chacon that you saw briefly there, who is Sans front wing. He's going to have to come into the pits and make some repairs. It'll be the 2nd time he's in for repairs, so not a good Australian Grand Prix for Bruno. Involved with the front runners in an incident, frankly, not of his making completely. I mean, I think if I were in Bruno's shoes, I would not have expected Cesarius to go for that piece of daylight on the right. Given where he was on the track, in any case. So, and Ray now, who is in 6th place, is about to be lapped by our leader. That gives you an idea of the pace that Coxon has been laying down in the early part of this race. In just a few seconds here, we're going to have only 5 cars on the lead lap. That's incredible. I can't think of a race in the past where we've had that happen this soon.
Yeah, we're only on basically halfway through lap 28, 29, so or basically 34% complete of this race, completed distance of this race so far. So yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
We have one more retirement. Francois Remon's out of the race, apparently a blown engine, so maybe that extra compression was not a good idea after all for the Lola team. I don't know. This is the part of the track where Mansell had that blown tire in 1986. Fortunately, not for Coxon at this point, but that blown tire in 86 basically decided the Drivers' Championship. Watching Radal in Rosberg's car. This would have been the very last Formula One Grand Prix for Rosberg in the number 2 McLaren. A car that he was never very happy with. A car that was designed around people like Prost and Lauda And I think it's fair to say that Rosberg was a very different driver. He liked to throw the car into the corner. He was much more of a lively driver. And Prost and Lauda were at the other end of the spectrum, I guess you could say, in terms of what they would expect out of the car, right?
Yeah, I think that's why Rosberg was always he always seemed to do well at Williams from probably the early to mid '80s, because it's just the car is suited his driving style, and he was able to throw the car into the corners. If you watch some videos on YouTube, you can watch him just throwing that car around, like sliding into the corners and sliding on the exit of corners, and it's just basically I think it was just his driving style.
Here's Asserclinth, who's just gone well, actually, this is interesting. Asserclinth is right with... Okay, we have a battle here to watch now, finally. Asserclinth is right with Anders Nilsson in the West Zaxby. This is a battle for 4th place. Heading into the final hairpin on the track. And Nilsson's really lighting up the tires on all these... he's braking as late as he possibly can. Ferrari versus Zaxby here. Again, this is the highest we've seen a Zach speed in a race. Pretty surprising that, I mean, Nilsson's a great driver, but I'm really amazed that he can extract this kind of speed from the Zach speed. Nilsson's next best opportunity to overtake him is, oh, 3rd. We have another car out of the race. It is Coxon! Coxon's out of the race! Richard Coxon's out of the race. I'm not sure what precipitated this. We're going to find out shortly, hopefully. But it happened just a little bit ago, because all of a sudden I was looking at the standings, and that was a battle for 4th place, and very quickly it turned into a battle for 3rd on the telemetry. So Coxon has had some kind of a problem and is out of the Australian Grand Prix. Huge development. Running back here, trying to find out what happened with the replay. My goodness.
I was going to say I've not had a chance to look at it myself, but
No,
please don't say it's a blown engine.
Well, I'm running it back. I want to see, because this is a very serious development. It happened while we were watching Jonathan and Nilsson. Come back this far, I may as well keep going. But Coxon is falling all the way down the field now, of course, because he's out of the race. Okay, here we go. Here, I finally got to where he's on the track, so let's see what happens here. It looks like a blown engine. It does. It looks like what it is. I'm going to run it back a little further here and then let it run forward. Here he seems okay. Here he seems okay. Okay, I'll run it forward from this point right here. And let's see what happens. It's a blown engine. The engine died on him. That's it. Coxon out of the race, blown engine. Incredible. And Coxon, who's very good with taking care of his equipment, if he's having issues, I think we can expect other blown engines before this race is over. So, a very startling development. That means that Grant Riddall is now in the lead in his motor racing developments entry number 8. In 2nd is John Team. 3rd, Anders Nilsson in the Zach Speed, and he's having to handle up Jonathan Asserclinth, and Jonathan goes into 3rd place on the outside, heading for the chicane. He clears him just in time, and 5th is Ray Riddall, so we got a 3-way battle here for 3rd place suddenly. So we'll stay here for the moment, because this looks like it's where the action is.
Yeah, and again, that engine failure for Coxon just opened up pretty much opened up the battles again, and Jonathan's up into 3rd place with the Ferrari, and John Team 2nd in the Equite Leisure, and I have to say what a race so far, and the field's starting to kind of decimate or basically decrease slowly, but a great race, and pretty much it's a great way to round out the season.
Nilsson looks like he's about to come under attack from Ray Radal. No, Ray thinks better of it and hits the brakes. But to have a Zaxbyde in fourth is incredible. Aserklinth is driving a magnificent race, having started way further back in the field. He was eighth to start with, got to qualifying a bit late, I believe. And look at this, here's Ray Radal right chomping at the back of the West Zaxbyde of Anders Nilsson.
And I'm back. Sorry for my previous technical problems, guys.
Oh no, that's fine. A lot has happened, but there goes Ray Radal past Nilsson for the moment. Ray is now in fourth place, but I don't think Nilsson's going to let this go quietly.
I think this is the case of being the last race of the season. Anders is just cranking up the boost maybe a bit on the Zaxbyde, whereas Prix is willing to finish the race on fuel. And maybe Anders is willing to take more risk and show what the Zaxbyde is capable of.
It's possible. Definitely possible. But you can see that Ray actually has some damage on that car. His rear wing has got a dent in it on the left-hand side. You can see it right there. It's actually, one of the end plates is actually turned in, but he has now taken off and is leaving Nilsson in the dust and going after Jonathan Aserklinth. We just had, just to bring Alberto up to speed, we just had Coxon exit the race with a blown engine. He was leading.
Yeah, I was able to see that. It's really a shame.
Yeah, he was.
But well, it goes on to show that anything can happen in these races.
Yeah, the other thing that was a big development in the race was happened before it even started. Jules Bouchard had a disconnection, and the race started without him. So that effectively was as a bat to the kneecaps for any chance of Lotus defending themselves against McLaren for the title.
That's true. We currently have in the top 6, where you score the points, a Lotus and a McLaren. But the McLaren is obviously in the better position, and I think both Lotus needed to score in order to be able to overtake McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, right?
Yes. If you look at the Constructors' Championship, people are probably getting sick of us bringing this up, but at the point we're at right now, Lotus would finish with 74 points. And actually, it would be a tie the way it is now. They'd both be tied at 74. So I'm sure there's some kind of, oh my goodness, as here comes Radal looking to overtake and take advantage of the lapping situation with APA, and he goes up into third place. So now, well, there goes what I just said. Now he's third. That means he would be, oh my goodness, there's a bunch of smoke over here. Who's that? It's the remaining.
Yeah, it's Michael Drexler.
It's Drexler, it's the remaining Lola. So now the Haas Lola team is effectively out of the race. But it's a great battle here between Radal and Jonathan Aserklinth. The other story of this race has been incidents with back markers. We saw it early on with Del Piccolo and Schlapinski when they came across Bruno Chacon, and the result was not pretty. 3 cars damaged, and they had to go to the pits. So that's why Schlapinski is not where you would expect him to be at this point, or Gabriel for that matter. And we're at lap 35 now, so we should start to think about pit stops at this point, I would think. Eventually,
well, according to my notes, we should be seeing between 1 and none pit stops here.
Do you think they're based on the pace that they're setting? It's hard for me to believe that nobody's going to the pits for tires. What do you think, Ryan? What do you think, Ryan? I mean, the pace has been torrid. Do we really think anybody out there is doing a no-stop race?
I don't know. I mean, I think if you're planning to do one stop, I think this is probably round about the time you would do your pit stop. Maybe if you can, maybe try and stretch it to maybe lap 40, and then make your one pit stop. But I think if you're trying to do this race on the on the no stops, I think you just lose too much time. But obviously, I think it depends what the tyre compound that each of the drivers are using.
Yeah, well, that was also my thing, because we are on lap 30, and if there is going to be a single pit stop, then that would be around lap 40. If nobody has pit yet, that seems to indicate that nobody is on a two-stop strategy. So I think we should be waiting still some more laps until we see those who are going to pit. And
Here goes.
It will be a single pit stop.
Excuse me, here goes Jonathan up the inside of Brian Janik, and he is trying to get back into contact with, that was probably too alarmist of me. I'll just admit, I assumed that was Nilsson. But it's not, so Nilsson's actually down in 6th at this point. So Esserclinth's next target is Radal, who's further up the road than we're seeing here. Sorry, go ahead, Alberto. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, it's okay. I had already finished. I said that if we would be looking at 2 pit stops, people would have already done one. And if they are going to do a single pit stop, we should be expecting it in some more laps. It's somewhere between laps 35 and lap 40.
Yeah.
So still some laps to go.
Yeah. And I hope that Ray has turned off his fixer-upper button in his car, because if he doesn't, the McLaren mechanics are going to spit shine that thing for a minute and a half, and that would be very bad for the Constructors' Championship. But I'm wondering where Ray got that damage from, somewhere early on, but it's obviously not enough to slow him down. He's continuing on. Dario Epa is out of the race. That's unfortunate, because he was looking at a possible top 10 in that Acela, and having actually a good scrap with Brian Janik early on.
So David Junt is now up to 5th.
Okay.
Where does this put the situation with the Constructors' Championship?
Well, with the Constructors' Championship, with David Junt being in 5th, that would mean that Lotus would finish with 75 points, and with Ray Radal in 3rd, that would also mean they'd finish with 75 points with 4.
Yeah, therefore that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So they are tied again.
They're tied again where they are right now. I'm not sure what the
I'm guessing the number of victories, obviously, since Jules Bouchard has scored so many, would decide things in favor of Lotus.
You would think so. I don't know. Juha will be the one to ask about that, and he's not here. So we'll let him sort that out. We're not going to make any pronouncements if it's a tie, because we don't know, frankly, what the procedure is. But up front, you've got 2 cars.
So Jonathan is in the pits now.
Okay, Jonathan making his pit stop.
He's in the pits.
There he goes.
Just failed to see what compounds he put.
Somewhere between softs and super softs. I would think we also have one Benetton in the pits. I believe that was Miller. No, it was his teammate, actually.
One interesting thing is that even with that pit stop, he's ahead of David Junt.
Wow. Well, Jonathan's been setting a great pace from the start of the race. He started 8th on the grid, and has been slowly making his way up the field. So he's carrying the torch for the Tifosi very well. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the help of his teammates, so that effectively ruins any chance that, not that there was much of one, but there was a slight chance going into this race that Ferrari would challenge for the championship. But with only one car out there, it's effectively null and void. It's not going to happen. But yeah, Jonathan having an excellent race. Now the question becomes, we have to ask ourselves, since a Honda blew earlier, and we know how careful Coxon is, maybe he just was handed a hand grenade by lottery, because that happens. So the amount of life your engine has is a random figure that is chosen at the start. Nope, and you don't know what it is. So maybe that was what happened. But Grant is in the BMW, and we know how prone this is to blowing up. If I was John Team, the tactically superior thing to do right now is to just let Grant go and take care of my car and hope that he blows up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's very likely, unless he can really beat him in the pace without really risking things on that Ligier. That would be the wise thing to do. But we don't really know how much Tim is stretching his car right now, so we will see.
Ryan?
Yeah, I think I think if you're John and if maybe Ray catches up to me, I maybe just let him go and not make too much of a fight of it. Just look after the car and look after the engine and just kind of again just think of the long game, because we've still got a bit just about under the second half of the race to go, and I think John Team at the moment he's doing a good job, and I think he does it. If I was him, just look after the car and not push it and not take the risk of losing that second or third step on the podium.
Yeah, we are just now at half distance in the race, or we're going to be when Grant makes his way around one more time. We got one more. This is the lap before half distance. So it's been a surprising race in a lot of ways so far, with Jules being out before it even starts. The really strange accident between Ślepinski, Chacon, and Del Piccolo, which effectively took all three of them out of the running, or any chance of doing particularly well. And then the engine failure of Coxon, which is a big surprise to me. In any case, I think the question now becomes what will happen with Grant. Has he taken care of that engine? We may see a lot more retirements before the end of the race, and not necessarily because of engine, but maybe fuel situations. Would you guys agree?
Well, more than retirements, maybe what we see is some dramatical drop in pace. If someone realizes that he's not going to make it into the distance.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that due to me having to disconnect, I seem to have lost the lap counts and the lap times. I can only follow more or less what the cars are doing on the track.
Well, I can tell you.
It would seem to me, that there is quite a sizable gap between John Tim and Ray Ridal. I think.
You are correct.
See, because I can follow that in the live timing. So that's 16 seconds between John Tim and Ray Ridal. So here's my thinking. Now, John Tim needs to obviously preserve the car and obviously take care of the fuel, because the Ligier is known to be a thirsty engine. But at the same time, you were talking before about eventually the possibility of him trying to catch up with Grant. I think that his main concern right now is the other Ridal, because he has only 16 seconds behind a car that is very good on fuel management, whereas John Tim's is a very bad one, and Grant is 60-something seconds in front. So I think his strategy at this point should be to manage the distance with Rai and hope for a blow-up by Grant.
Do you agree with that, Ryan?
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I think at this point maybe John's realising that he can't catch that or can't close that gap down to Grant, but he's going to have to worry about Ray Ridal, who you never know, he could close that gap back down. But I think at the moment, with the top three being pretty much spread out, I think it's just a case of just looking after the car and keeping it on the track and not making any silly mistakes. Obviously, if any of the top three have issues, that'll allow Jonathan Ockenklum up into third place and possibly be on for a podium position. But obviously, we've still got plenty of time left for anything to happen.
Yeah, it's too early.
According to the live timing, it's down to around 14 seconds now. It depends on the part of the track, but I would say that the distance between Tim and Ridal is shrinking.
Well, it's going to be tough to judge based on where we're at right now. And Team is coming to the pits, and he did exactly what you said would happen with some people. Ryan, you called it. He ran into the wall. Unbelievable.
He's just done a David Coulthard. Oh my
Unbelievable.
god.
I cannot believe it. You called it. You said this might happen, and it did. Slow down.
I'm not laughing at the fact that John hit the wall. I'm laughing at the fact that what I was talking about earlier can happen, and it's actually something that I predicted has happened. That's so Jonathan Ockcliffe up into third place.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, he's out of the pits now. Apparently, that didn't take long, but actually, Ray Radal is in second. John is still third. Here comes Johnny Aces. He's right behind him now, and so all that gap that he had between himself and team has gone to 0. And now Asselklint sees his chance to get third place. He's on hot tires. John team is on cold tires. This is going to be excellent.
John actually put super softs and mediums at the rear. Super softs on the front, mediums at the rear, which seems to indicate that he's really hitting the map with wheel spin.
Okay. So here they come out of Stag Turn. Now coming up to the Brabham Straight. We'll see if Asselklint can out-drag John down the straight. I would think this would be his best chance to do so. No, he doesn't appear to be goosing it at all, so. They come down into the corner. That looks closer than it actually is because it's a foreshortened shot. But this is the battle on the track right now of interest. Third place between team, and it's simply a situation of team misjudging his speed on the entry to the pit lane, losing a front wing. I'm surprised he was able to get out that quickly, frankly, guys.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that John never lost a front wheel just with the impact he hit the wall. But I think he got away with that with it being pretty much a head-on hit into the wall.
And in any case, this promotes, at least for the moment, Brad Riddell to second place, and that means that McLaren is also now ahead in the Constructors' Championship.
Yes. We got a yellow flag in this area. What's going on?
That's Nicholas Kirsten in the gravel trap.
Oh. I'm looking for him. I don't see. Oh, wait, there he is. Okay, I've got him now. Oh, God, he's got the worst job now. He's trying to get out of the gravel trap. He's on the grass now. Now he's out and he's away. So Kristen rejoins.
Anders' engine has blown up.
Anders' engine. Oh, that's too bad, because he was having
Zach Speed.
He was having a great run for Zach Speed, and now it's all come to nothing. That's too bad, because we had never seen a Zach Speed that high up the grid. Team and Asselklint still running in close formation. Look at Team. He's out on the outside there, and Jonathan on the inside. Kind of a strange difference in line, but they all, you can see how the car really bounced on that curb. Jonathan looking, oh, look out.
I was about to say that it seemed to me as if John was trying to break the toe, but I believe that according to what we're seeing on the screen now, Jonathan's actually quicker in these slow corners. So
he is. It's
probably
obvious.
Probably he has much more drag on the main street. So that's likely not the point where team should be expecting him.
I don't know. Team looks like he's struggling with this car.
Yeah, maybe there is some damage in the end.
Oh, he's got a great chance here now, Jonathan. Team is goosing the boost just to protect himself here, I think.
Maybe so, but it could also be the case that Jonathan has.
Jonathan's go for it.
Oh no! They touched just briefly, not enough to do any damage, but man, that was close. Man, was that close. Now you can see what happens here too. I was talking to Ryan about this earlier, Alberto. There are certain tracks where running up on the curb and clipping the curbs can help you gain time. This is not one of those circuits. If you
stabilizes the car, yes.
Yeah, it destabilizes the car and costs you time. As we can see, Jonathan's right with him here coming into the chicane. Not a good place to overtake here, but man, he's really worrying John all the way around the track here.
Yeah, but I would say that when they come to the straights, it's very clear that even if Jonathan obviously has a good acceleration out of the corners due to the higher grip, John has lower wings.
Sorry.
Opa. John has lower wings, and thus is able to stay in front at the end of the straight. But Jonathan is eating him alive in the corners.
Yeah, he really is. It's just the only reason he's not going by is because there's a solid car in front of him blocking him. All right.
Yeah, and John is overdriving that thing too much. He should be cooling down a bit because that's not going to be good for the tire. But look at this, look how he speeds away. I mean, Jonathan for sure has had much higher wings, or he's using lower boost, but I don't think that's the case, given the differences we see in the corner speeds.
Okay. Maybe it's just the noise that I'm hearing, but Jonathan's really taxing that motor, it seems. I hope he's taking the long haul or the long view.
You can jump in the cockpit and have a look at the RPMs. I don't see him really going that far beyond. Well, now he did, and now he did again. So yeah, maybe a bit.
Well, they got Fernando Porciero in front of them here, so this. Oh man, big hit on the curb by Jonathan there. They're coming up to Porciero, who I don't think wants to be an impediment, but on a track like this, if you arrive at a competitor at the wrong time, which we saw very graphically, although Porciero does the gentlemanly thing and lets them both by.
And very, very swift, very good move, yes.
Yeah, very well executed. He's hanging right with him there, putting lots and lots of pressure. Grant Riddall is still in the lead. Ray Riddall is in second place. Third place is John Team, and fourth is Asterclint, if you're watching that now. Fifth is Yunt, and sixth is Miller. So the way things are right now, it would be the McLaren team that wins the Constructors' Championship, with Ray all the way up in second place getting 6 points. That would give them 77. I believe. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh, contact between the two of them. Very lucky to get away with that one. Let's look at that again in slow motion, instant replay. Looking at it from Jonathan's car. Jonathan saw a momentary gap there on the right because John was slow to accelerate, but it just didn't pan out. Tires touching there. He was lucky to get away with that.
Yeah, it looked like John just had maybe just missed a shift there because he was slow on the exit.
I think that's what happened. He missed a shift, and Jonathan saw an opportunity, but a very fleeting moment where he could have gotten by, but wasn't really prepared for it.
And one thing for sure is also very clear, Jonathan is much happier, much more comfortable hitting the curbs than John Tim is.
He's got a softer, more compliant
Yeah,
front
I don't
end.
know if I don't know if it's a matter of the setup or the driving style, but Jonathan isn't hesitant at all to hit those curbs. Whereas when you see John Tim's car touching those curbs, it's darting all around.
Yeah. So to this point, we have 7 retirements in the race. Tim Hilla, Dario Epa, Richard Coxon, Francois Remen, Bruno Chacon, Moises Pereira, and Oscar Team. Those are the cars that are out of the race. We had 22 cars on the grid, started 21 because of what happened to Jules. He was almost to the grid, Alberto, and then the car just poof, disappeared.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate. Yeah, Jonathan is definitely fastest in this section, no question about it. Problem is, it's
Coming
not...
now to a lap car.
Okay. Yep, it is Drexler. In the remaining Lola, since Remen has left the track.
Yeah,
And
that's,
Drexler's not going to make a problem with this. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be safe for him. And look there, I mean, this is a situation where he really put the boost up.
This is interesting because he's now got a car in between himself, and that's ideally what would have happened. Is there's just enough space to put a car between himself and Asserklin, so now that's going to cost Jonathan a lot. Well, he's around him now, but you can see the result there. That's cost him a decent amount of time, just being stuck behind Drexler for a little bit.
It was indeed a very good move by John. And you can see how he really wanted to rotate that car and place himself in front just before the corner. It was very good move. Very clever.
And you're right, right there. Jonathan bounded over the curb, and it was almost like nothing was different. With other cars, it's very different.
He's folk racing that Ferrari.
So here comes Portiero, and he's going to get out of the way for these two. It's interesting. Didn't they lap this guy just a few seconds ago?
How many Portieros are on track?
Just one that I know of. Okay.
That's a recurrent joke we had on ovals because there is so much passing and lapping there involved. That sometimes
True. Yeah, especially.
And if you're adding to that the pitting, there are many situations where you can find the same car, I don't know, maybe 4 times in a race.
So the gap between Grant and his dad is like 1 minute 21 seconds. It's nuts. So the only way that this is going to change is if Grant has a problem with the car. If the engine blows up. And we'll see what happens. But Ray is quite content to be in second place. Third team is now pulling out, enjoying that nice gap that he has to Asserklin. Fifth is David Yunt. Sixth is Miller. So going back to that chart one more time. If they finish the way they are right now, John Player Special will finish with 2 more points, which puts them at 75. And Ray Rodal is second. He's 6 points. That gives them 77. So in this case, McLaren would pick up the constructor's title as they stand right now.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that Rai is very much aware of that, and considering the big distance that there is, the big gap that there is to Grant, he's just basically cruising around.
Yeah, basically.
He's happily watching from the distance how Atterklint and team are trashing their cars in their fight, whereas he's managing the fuel and basically waiting until either Grant blows the engine and a victory is handed to him.
Yes.
Or just he finishes like this and gives the Constructors' Championship to McLaren. So it's I would say that's a quite comfortable position.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing the technically superior thing right now, I think. So while we have a moment, maybe we could talk about what's coming up next year for ISO. A lot of work has been going on behind the scenes with the 91 mod. It's not going to be the same experience as we had with the previous 91 championship. New physics, and that's always a really challenging mod because you have to be, I mean, this one is very challenging because you have to be on the ball like all the time. 91, it's even more so. So we'll be broadcasting all 16 races for you here on the ISO television network, and should be an interesting time. But the other thing that I think a lot of people are happy to see come back are the touring cars, Alberto.
Well, that's for sure. I was looking forward to them because I've been a long time away due to real-life issues and many commitments. And what better to get back than the tin tops?
Are you also looking forward to tin tops, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll be taking. Excuse me.
Jonathan has crashed.
No! Let's see what happened here. It just happened just now. This is the replay. Jonathan. I don't think it's an accident. I think something might have happened to the car. No, he did crash. He ran right off and into the barrier just before the Jack Brabham straight. Oh my goodness, what a disaster! Because he was looking so he was running such a good race too. Oh, that's a bummer. Well, John Team is the pressure's off for him now. Incidentally, he's being lapped by the leader. So in a very short period of time, the Radals will be the only 2 cars on the lead lap. You were saying, Alberto, about tin tops, or I think it was Ryan. We were throwing it to you about tin tops.
Yeah, I'll be taking part in the touring car. Excuse me, the Australian touring car event next Sunday at 1:10. What I'm looking forward to, because I do like my tin top and touring car racing. So looking forward to that, and it'll be good to get back out on track on ISO, because I've not raced for quite some time.
Yeah, but then there's also the series coming up next year. I'm sure we'll see.
Oh yeah, but I'm thinking about it, but obviously it comes down to time, of how much time I've got. But yeah, if I have time, I'll definitely be jumping on track.
I have to give it up to Anders on the YouTube chat for using a Top Gun quote for his reason for his retirement. He says that he was writing checks for the Zach Speed that it could not cash. That's funny.
Yes, I said it before. when we were watching him hold up riding the McLaren, it seemed that he was showing off a bit with the Zach Speed, using the magic knob.
Still, it was fun to watch while it lasted. So now team is officially a lap down to our leader Grant. So that puts it is now a Radal. The Radals are on 1 lap, all their own. It's a family lap, nobody else allowed. And we're on lap 54 here, so we're not quite to the closing stages yet, but we're getting there. Miller is now up to 4th in all this schmozzle. Oh no, David Yunt is out of the race! David Yunt is out of the race. It appears he's parked his car by the side of the fence. It looks like this may be another engine blow up. Running it back here to see what happens, but I think that's pretty much what happened. I mean, he's sitting against the fence with no damage to the car. Yeah. That usually means engine blow up.
It's listed as engine, yes.
All right, well, now we know. So basically now, it's up to Ray and he's in 2nd place now. If he stays where he is, McLaren will win the Constructors' Championship. He just has to complete the race where he is.
What if he doesn't?
What if he doesn't? Then in that case, Lotus wins the Constructors' Championship.
Oh, so we will have drama till the end.
Yes, we have to wait. The graphics that I've made for the Constructors' Champion will have to wait. We cannot put them on the screen yet.
It seems to me that we have Jonathan aboard in the broadcast booth.
Oh, we do. Johnny Aces, I'm so sorry to see you go out there. It looked like you might have been having some difficulty prior to that accident. Can you take us through what happened?
The car just isn't really suited for this track. I love it. Laps prior to that, I got caught out by some lap traffic and was trying to make that difference up and driving just a little bit over the car. Got a yellow flag call going into onto that straight that led to the right hand onto the back straight, and I just slightly got distracted by it, turned in, fraction too early, clipped the inside curb and got sent out into the outside curb at too high a speed. And, that's that.
Well,
it was good fun to drive while it lasted though.
Well, we're sorry to hear that, Jonathan. Do you happen to know how's Juha doing? We understand he's kind of under the weather.
I haven't heard anything from him since he wrote that.
All right. Well, we hope he gets better. Sorry to see that you're out of the race. It's interesting though to hear you say that car was not suited to this track, because you were really giving John Team a run for his money for a bit there. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think the difference is I was running on no boost pretty much the whole race. I ran on 2 clicks of boost for opening 2 laps, and then I realized, nope, the weather is too hot. So I reckon he was using too much fuel, and then when he had his, he had a bit of a happening into the pits, I believe. And he had used too much fuel to get that gap that he had, so we were effectively driving on more or less the same ball point in terms of how much boost we could use.
Yeah, although you seem to have much more wing than him because you were eating him alive in the slow sections, whereas he was running away in the quicker ones.
Yeah, I believe I may have made a bit of a mistake in how much wing I was using, but the car was far more stable and nice to drive with more wings. So
we surmised that as well watching it.
Trade-off I was willing for.
Yeah, we saw you were folk racing it over all the curbs.
Yeah, that's just one of my driving style quirks. The suspension was set up to be able to take at least some of the curbs. Sadly, not the really high ones.
Well, speaking of bounding over the curbs, I'll bet we can see you in one of the cars for next week's season finale at Winton.
Yeah, I'll be driving the fairly old and trusty Toyota Camry for that one, so car I've never driven before, so it'll be nice to give it a whirl and see what we can get out of it. Really looking forward to that touring car, so like, yes, let's give it here.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think a lot of people are looking forward to it just because of the fact that, last year, or this, when I say last year, I mean the year that we're leaving now, we had 4 series. We had LVT F1 86, which you're watching now, Pro Car 1980, and the World Endurance Championship 1984. I think it's fair to say that if you're a driver of medium level talent, like for example myself and some others, there weren't a lot of opportunities to really make your mark this year because it was all very, 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 it was all equipment that was very, at best in the hands of people who knew how to get the most out of it. I think the Touring Car Series is a welcome addition for next year because it's going to be a much more even playing field for everybody. And it'll give some people who don't always get a chance to shine a chance to make their mark. Am I way off?
Yes, and we will even have that private championship that accompanies the official one.
Private championship? What do you mean?
And,
That's right.
For
the privateers. Yes, the privateers. That's right. Yes.
The Toka Cup, I believe it was called back in those days.
Yeah, the mid 90s, I believe. Yeah, the mid to late 90s. If you weren't racing in a factory car, they did another championship for the privateers, which was as Jonathan says, it was called the Total Cup. So if you didn't win the overall championship, you still had a championship within a championship to race for to give back to the privateers.
Which gave us some really good drivers over the years. Matt Neal drove a lot of years in that. He went on to win the championship overall in the 2000s afterwards. But anyway, thank you for bringing us the race, and a bit bummed to be out, but it was good fun.
Well, we'll see you next Sunday, hopefully. And you gave the Ferrari a good drive this year on a number of occasions. So thanks for the entertaining drives, and look forward to seeing you on Sunday, Jonathan.
Cheers.
All right, take care. We're watching another driver here who hasn't had a chance to really do much in this series. Dave Miller had more of a chance to do well in the World Endurance Championship, but here he is running in 4th place, taking advantage of other people's problems, looking pretty good in the Benetton. We'll see if he can get it to the end here without it exploding. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Oh no! Commentator's curse, no! He's out of the race! Engine! Gray smoke. Oh no. Now the YouTube chat's going to go nuts. My fault. I caused Miller to go out. That's what they're all going to be saying.
And you've said in the past that there's no commentator's curse, and you've just done it.
it's right up there with the Loch Ness Monster and the Boogeyman. It does not exist, or the gambler's fallacy. They all don't exist. And here they go. They're gonna just let me have it. Go for it. Just go for it with your silly comments. Do it. Do it now.
Well, once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, and thrice is a hostile action.
Oh man. Yeah, here it comes. Here come the comments. It's already there. Oh God. Maybe it's time for a trivia question. Yeah. All right. So the trivia question is, gotta find my soundboard here. That's the most important part. Who is tied with Australian driver Lex Davison for the most Australian Grand Prix wins at 4? This includes non-championship races. Is it A, Ayrton Senna, B, Michael Schumacher, or is it C, Jack Brabham?
Man, I didn't even know who Lex Davison is.
He was an Australian driver who took part in the early non-championship races, which is why he's tied with whoever the right answer is.
Yo.
Anybody want to take a guess?
Oh, I'll go with... Why not? Jack Brabham.
What about you, Ryan?
I'm going to go with B, Michael Schumacher.
And you are correct. Michael Schumacher, 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2004, which means, unfortunately, for Alberto, sorry.
Well, next time.
Yep. So I got to use my wrong buttons for the last time this year. Centorami's up to 4th now. Miller is out of the race. That's right. I'm just now remembering that I caused that. So Centorami is 4th. That's interesting because we've seen Centorami drive very good drives in this car, but very rarely has he been inside the top 5. I think all of his most all the races he's run for Tyrrell have been in the top 10. And
There's another sack speed that's Brian Janik slowing down.
Oh, Janik's done. That's too bad. I'm zooming.
You see it, you didn't mention him.
Who?
You didn't mention Janik, and yet his engine blew.
Okay,
There's
well
no
there you go.
commentator
See?
scores.
So for all you clowns on the forum or on the chat who say it's my fault, there another car blew. Oh my goodness! Centorami just hit the wall very hard out of racetrack hairpin. That might have been a ping issue, but let's take another look. Here he is coming into racetrack hairpin, and I think a ping issue caused this, but look at what happens. He goes for the corner, and he actually bounces off the right-hand side wall. It looked like a much more severe hit from where I saw it on the outside, but in any case, he seems to be doing okay. Seems like he doesn't have any damage. Good. But as I was saying about Centorami, he's finished in the top 10 in this Tyrrell a number of times. If he keeps going, this will be the first time he's finished in the top 5 in a Tyrrell, which is another case of a driver extracting more from a car than others can. And Fredrickson is on the chat saying, glad to see a Tyrrell doing well. Yes, it is. This is the Tyrrell driven by Martin Brundle in the 1986 series. So still looking like it's going to be a McLaren championship so long as Ray keeps going.
Do not mention him twice in front
All
of
right. Dang. Yeah, poor Janik out of the race. That's too bad because he qualified 10th and looked like he was going to have a good day. Okay, this is interesting. Cesarius is up to 5th now after the incident that he had with Bruno and Gabriel Del Piccolo. He's managed to claw his way all the way back up to 5th, and he's only 1 lap in your ears. So he's
which adds points.
Yes, it does.
To the McLaren tally.
So it adds to their tally 2 points because both cars scoring points count in the constructors championship, unlike other years where it's just the top placed car from the team. It's both that can score for the constructors championship. So right now they're looking at 8 points. 8 points, and with Yunt out of the race, they're looking at 0. So that means it's definitely going to be a solid constructors championship for McLaren if they can make it to the line, which I have no way of controlling. I don't care what anyone says. And Drexler is up in 6th place now, driving the Lola. It was trying to remember now. I think it was a battle that Dario was having that was with his Zach Speed, but it's nice to see a Lola up in the top 6. That was Tom Bay's drive in 1986.
Yeah, and considering that Drexler has only Fernando Porteiro behind, and that's several laps, I believe, he seems to have a quite solid position to score a point.
Did I do it again? No. I did it again. I don't believe this. Engine failure for Michael Drexler. YouTube chat is going to eat me for dinner now. My goodness. Drexler retires from the Australian Grand Prix just as I was saying how wonderful it was to see a Lola in the top 6. Maybe I should just stop talking altogether and the two of you just go ahead and call the race, because at this point,
would you like a spade to make the hole bigger?
Oh man.
I'm sorry, I had to do it.
That's okay. Oh God, this is stupid. Somebody needs to put together a clip video of all the times I've talked and stuff's happened. It'd probably be a half an hour or 45-minute video.
Oh dear. At least it's a good way to round out the season.
Right. Yeah, I'm the one who gets the brunt of all the comments. I'm the one who gets roasted. So that means that eventually, guess who's going to be in the points? Eventually, Fernando Portiero, driving a Barkley Arrows BMW. He's got a ways to go. He's got a few laps he has to complete before he goes up the chain. But I don't think there's been a Barkley Arrows that's scored points this year at all. Like, none. No races. So that'll be a huge boost for that team.
Although he's 8 laps behind.
Yeah, okay, well that brings up a good point. Does that mean that he's not going to be classified? Because he's the last car running at the moment.
Should be looking at the rules. I think you have to cover a minimum of a certain distance in the race.
Yeah, look at the rules and see what it says, because I know there's definitely a minimum percentage you have to meet before you're classified.
85% of the race distance. So how many laps do we have here? 82?
We have 82 laps, and I think we are at 80% complete.
That would be 69.7. Therefore, let's say 70 laps. He needs to make it up to lap 70.
Okay. And the leaders at this point are on lap 66. So it looks like he's going to make it. Maybe.
No, well, it's him that needs to cover 70 laps, not the leaders.
True, yeah. It's oh no. Don't tell me. No, he's still going. Okay, good. At first I thought he was slowing down, like, oh no, not again. But we do, to be perfectly frank, we have 6 cars left running on the circuit. So it's been a very high attrition race, and we're really not even at a point where it's 20 laps to go. So if I mean, everybody should be turning the boost back, like if they want to win, if they want to finish this race. Yeah, Portiero's got to complete 11 more laps before he's classified.
Yeah, correct. Because
So-
that's,
But Portiero's not scored any points, and neither has his team this year. But again, they're in a BMW, so who the heck knows what's going to happen. I'm not at all surprised about Centorami, though. He's shown really good form in this car all throughout the year, and in a high attrition race, I think he's cashing in here his chips. And here's our leader, Grant Riddall, who actually he's been slowing down, it appears. The gap between himself and Ray is now 46 seconds.
yeah, correct. Was about to point that out because at some point it was 1 minute and 21 seconds, and now it's 45 seconds.
Yeah, I think he's probably looking at his fuel meter and going, okay, I gotta slow up here.
So, yeah, nursing the engine as much as he can.
But also he's probably thinking about he's thinking about engine life as well. He doesn't want either of those to end his race.
Yeah, he's changing gears at 10,500 RPM, so that's way below the minimum safety line. So. Well, I guess with Rai being right behind him, he's as safe nearly as with a teammate. So.
Yeah.
Nothing silly is going to happen.
Well, there you go now, making pronouncements. We'll see what happens.
Trying to spice up things.
Yes, yeah. You in the YouTube chat says, just admit you have a detonation button.
Well, you know what happened between the two all answers at the end of the championship. I think that was 85.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that was 1985. No, sorry, was it 1986?
Was the last? No, not 86. Not 86, because 86 was the year he won with the Indy 500. So, and he was already like retired. Must have been earlier. I know that was 87.
1987.
Okay, yeah. Correct. Yeah, it must be. Well, anyway, I mean, there was a father and son affair, and there were no quarters at all given.
Yeah. There's Portiero letting John Team go by, so he's being very courteous. It really is going to be up to him, though, to complete those 70 laps so he's classified. He's now finally in 6th place after overtaking the people who are out of the race, so I'm sure he's just delighted with where he is, but he needs to complete those 70 laps. It'll be close.
At this point, it's even a prize situation to meet another car on the track.
Yeah, I know. Oh! Feels like a test session for a lot of people. Yeah, Race keeps circulating the track with that bent wing, but apparently it's not caused him any trouble the entire time. It just looks like some incidental contact that he had. But,
yeah, but both him and Grant are actually 2 seconds slower in the last lap than the quickest that they have done over the race. And now they have much less fuel, so you can imagine how much they've dialed out the boost and the throttle.
Yeah, you got to manage that stuff properly, otherwise you'll be really slow at the end. I know that firsthand from my last race in World Endurance Championship. I used way too much fuel in the second stint, and the third stint I had to drive like Columbo to make it to the end. Yeah, they're visibly driving slower now. You can see it with the naked eye as well.
Yeah, and Grant is now in lap 17, so that's 85% of the race. It's 71 now, so it's well beyond it.
Yep.
So 8 laps, about 8 laps to go for Fernando Porteiro to be able to score.
Looks like he's just gonna make it. If he can keep.
Yeah, it will be about, well, not exactly, but about the same time when Grant finishes the race, due to the gap.
And the other point that we made earlier on is that cars that are, that start further down the field and are not as quick as the front runners, they have to worry about fuel a little bit less because they know already that they are not going to finish on the lead lap. So that's one silver lining.
Right.
That's one silver lining about driving a slow car. But still, he's got to complete those laps. We'll see what happens. So kudos to, we didn't talk, you missed it earlier, but now we're looking at Cesarius, and he is driving the second McLaren, or he's the visiting driver for McLaren in this race. He started on the pole, and Coxon took the lead on the first corner. He fell back a little bit, Cesarius did, and then he came up to lap at one point Bruno Chacon. And Cesarius went for a gap on the right-hand side that I don't think, honestly, Bruno was expecting him to go for. Bruno drifts to the right, not expecting him to be there, takes off Lipinski's front wing, and then Bruno bounces back to the left and collects Gabriel Del Piccolo. It was a comedy of errors in a way. But Lipinski obviously has been putting the pedal to the metal since then, and he is now back into fifth. You could argue that he would have been in the top 6 anyway because of the attrition, but you can't predict that. So, he to his credit, has not given up.
No, and he's actually lapping in the same lap times as John Tim right now.
No, that doesn't surprise me in the least because I assumed that if they were able to fix his car, he would be really quick. And there he is, heading on down the Brabham Straight, probably at a reduced speed, but obviously whatever was wrong, they could fix it. It was just a front wing and probably some suspension. Oh, goodness. Barryland is giving me updates on the Lions-Bears game now. American football. A bunch of pansies in body armor playing rugby who don't know the rules, right, Ryan?
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't really watch American football or even rugby over in the UK or just in general.
I have this I have this fantasy of watching it with Coxon and just seeing him getting progressively more frustrated.
well, hang on, because Fernando Porteiro is slowing down.
Oh no! Oh no! Well, that would seem to end the concern about completing enough laps. Go ahead, YouTubers, let me have it. Oh man, yeah, that BMW is cooked. But it's another example of, I doubt Fernando is pushing it too hard to start with, but we have a BMW in the lead. I think, I'm sure that Grant has turned his boost back and he's driving slower for the fuel and the engine, and the times that Alberto has observed prove that out. So that's 5 cars now left in the race out of 21 that started.
Yeah, well, Grant is actually 30 seconds off the pace. I don't know. I mean, the only way he could go slower is to do it in reverse, I guess.
Uh-huh. My goodness, I should have...
The problem here is that, if you got out of like a hand grenade, as you said, regarding Coxo's engine, there's nothing that you can do. I mean, you can do your part and nurse the engine, not overrev it, not hit the limiter and that. But if you get an engine that is not going to make the distance, and there's the luck that you draw, well, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, you
so
can't do
we will
anything
see.
about it. Yeah. Well, it's been an exciting race at various points throughout, despite the depleted field. So, looking forward to seeing it. And it won't be long, guys, before we're going to start having people pick cars for 91 F1. Before we know it, the doors are going to be open on that.
Before we know, we will be racing at Phoenix, which is quite a different street track from this one.
Oh, it's different in all the ways that make drivers have headaches. No runoff whatsoever, or well, there are runoff areas, but nothing like what you see here. And if you make a mistake, you're going to eat concrete. So it's in every single time. So it's Phoenix is a very technically challenging track for sure.
And a bumpiness worthy of His Majesty's Speed Roads, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and it's one of my sites of one of my favorite F1 battles in history, where Jean Alesi gives Ayrton Senna grief in his lowly Tyrrell Ford, and shows what an incredible talent he was.
Yeah, I remember that. I was only a kid at the time, but I remember watching videos of that on YouTube and watching Ayrton Senna go by and me thinking, oh yeah, Alesi won't make a big deal of it, and then basically the next corner, Alesi just dives back up the inside and basically catches him by surprise, and I'm thinking, okay, it's like, okay, we've got a bit of a fighter on our hands.
Well, he was like that throughout the year. Oh no! It's happened. Has it or no? No, it
thank
hasn't.
you.
Oh my goodness, my heart just skipped a beat. Grant slowed down to let, I believe that was Ślepinski by.
Yeah, Slapinski is unlapping himself.
Oh, good grief. Grant, it looked like Grant was slowing down for a minute, but he actually intentionally let him by. So that gives you an idea of how much Grant's dialed it back.
Yeah, I think he's doing touring car lap times right now.
Oh boy. Also, Jakob Fredrickson on the YouTube chat saying he's sorry that he couldn't take part in more races this year, and I'm like, well, dude, you took part in the biggest race of the year and won, so that's your contribution, and he's going to have a 500 title to defend come May.
Oh yeah, and he can do it in an Eagle 70.
Yeah, he can. Let's put him in a front breather. All right. Anyway, so we're getting closer and closer to the end here of the race and the 2023 season. I'd like to actually take this opportunity to thank the ISO team for producing such a great mod, a mod that gave us so many exciting races over the course of this year. And physics is something that I just simply don't understand. We're lucky to have a guy like Richard Wilkes who understands it very well, puts a lot of work into it, and frankly, work that goes unnoticed by basically everybody. It's if you update the graphics to a car or update the modeling of a car, people can see that on the screen and go, oh, well, there's something cool. Physics, the amount of trial and error that goes into that, it's a lot of work. And Wilkes is the driving force behind that. So thanks to him for a fantastic series. It was not a repeat of the previous 86 series. And we have him to thank for that, for making sure there was a challenge that was different in these cars for this year. I'd also like to thank Ryan and Alberto for being my color commentators for the bulk of this year. You guys have been great as always with insightful comments, and have made this a lot of fun to cover. So thank you to both of you.
Yeah, our pleasure, and I hope to be back for next year Formula One. I will be racing the touring cars and for sure the turn left things.
Yeah,
but I would like to be in the booth with you, next year. Hopefully, now that I've been able to settle everything in real life and now stabilize things.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the rounded off rectangle and the curious ritual we have in America called Indianapolis. That's definitely one of my one thing I'm looking forward to. But I'm also looking forward to calling F191, and I'm looking forward to touring car racing. That's a fun. I enjoy driving touring cars. It's a nice switch.
Yep.
I don't know if we're going to get Ryan Walker into. Although Ryan is an Indy 500 winner, he won an Indy 500 in another series, another league.
Yeah, I did indeed. I won it on another platform. It was another gaming platform, if you like. Yeah, I won that. That was a bit. I never expected.
Which year? Which year was that?
This year.
Yeah, but I mean, you were racing modern Indy cars. Which year
yeah.
cars?
That was a modern Indy cars. That was on another sim racing game. So.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Modern Indy cars, and I was happy to win the Indy 500, which is something I dreamed of but never expected. So, yeah, I got to win that, and I got to taste a bit of the milk.
Good for you, man. Another thing, I don't know if you guys have been watching our friend Jacob William, who runs GP Laps. He just tested recently an Automobilista 2 mod, 1998 Indy cars, and it looked like it was a one car mod. It looked like it didn't have like all the different chassis, but it did have a skin collection that was 1998, and I have to say it looked pretty good. It looked pretty exciting.
Well, it's always good to see historic content on as many platforms as possible. Because I think many people, we need to draw more modern races to the historic racing, because it's so interesting. It's everything in racing, in sim racing, I mean, it's not just about the most modern thing.
No, and the earlier you go with the cars, the more of your own talent is on the line. The more that's put into your hands. Less computers doing things for you, less technology doing things for you. I remember Gary Bettenhausen telling me about the cars in the 70s. He said it was like, basically, you were just trying to keep the car underneath you for 4 laps in that quali run.
Yeah, well, as they say, in the early times you used to win the races. Now what you do is basically lose them if you get the best equipment.
Yeah. Jakob's already talking about asking for an Eagle. Cool.
Eagle 70.
Yeah, Eagle 70. That's what it's going to be. It'll be admin's choice. Oh, boy. Well, lap 80 is starting now, so 3 laps to go for Grant Riddall. And he has slowed it way down. Look at how slow he's going now.
Parade laps.
Parade laps. Ray Riddall is out of the race.
Oh, no.
How long ago did this happen?
Not long ago.
Not long ago. This happened recently.
Wait a moment. Let me check that, because he was...
No, it just happened now.
Yeah, right. Let's see.
He pulled off. It looks like an engine to me.
Yeah, it's engine failure, yes. It is.
You can hear the flames. Yep, he blew up the tag engine. Oh man. Well, now what does that do to the constructors? Now here's the thing. He would be classified possibly, because yes, he will be. He completed 79 laps, or he was on lap 79. So let's say he completed 78 just to be safe. That means he will be classified, correct?
I think so.
So that means his points will still count for the championship.
But anyway, with Cesarius there in 5th position, I think that would suffice anyway, no?
Actually, no, it would not. Not for us to make it a pronouncement, because that would only be 2 points.
Oof.
And it would be 73. So it looks like just by the skin of their teeth, McLaren are going to take the championship simply because Ray completed enough laps. So we'll see how far he falls down if he ends up in fourth or something. There are 2 more laps between him and Centorami and Ślepinski, so we'll have to look closely to see what happens here.
So Grant is now on lap 81.
Yeah, he's on his penultimate lap.
I'm not familiar with how the live timing is counting it, so when he goes by the start finish line this time, there will be 1 lap left.
Yep, 1 lap to go in the series and in this race. And Grant has suffered so many blow-ups during this series. I'm sure that he's hearing every single noise in that car right now. He could coast around and make it probably, but this is final lap starting right now, and I'm sure that he's just like, just get me around this lap. I don't care what speed it is. I just want to get around ahead of John Team. And it appears that it looks as if, okay, now Ray is jumping down the order, so it appears that what will likely happen here is Ślepinski will finish 4th and Ray will finish 5th, which means 3 plus 2 points is 5. And that would give McLaren the championship. Constructors' Championship. And you're sure about what you read, 85%, right?
Yeah, 85%. That's right.
So given the laps that have been completed. Oh, Centorami out of the race as well. My goodness. And he's completed enough laps to be able to be classified as well, thankfully.
So anyone who finishes gets a podium.
Basically, yes. We're down to 3 cars now. Grant has got the gap down to 38 seconds now, a whopping 38. But here he comes. He's got 2 more corners to go, and then he can take it easy. 1 more. Oh, he's just soft pedaling it. He doesn't want anything to mess this up. He comes into the final corner, accelerates off of it, and now all he has to do is cross the line, weaves back and forth, and there it is. Grant Radal has won the Australian Grand Prix, and John Team has stopped on the course. John Team has stopped. I don't know if that's engine or fuel, but here comes
I think he covered the distance. Well, he covered the distance. He went through the start-finish line.
Oh, he already did?
I think so.
I don't know.
Maybe he stopped without fuel?
I think he stopped without fuel, frankly, because here comes Ślepinski. 79. Oh, actually, yeah.
No, engine.
Another engine failure. So, in the end, we're going to have 2 cars. So here comes Ślepinski to the line. He is in 3rd place, which is worth 4 points. And even with 4 points, if there was no other car, let me look at the standings one more time. Yeah, even with just Ślepinski scoring 4 points, that gives by 1 point the championship to Marlboro McLaren International. So there it is. Marlboro McLaren is your Constructors' Championship, just based on the fact that Ślepinski scored 4 points. And looking for Ray Radal. Ray Radal will be classified 5th, 2 more points. So that pretty much cements it for McLaren. Excellent drive, and I think it says a lot about how good this car is. It's very smooth, it's very even, and I think we've had at least 2 McLaren wins this year. Not enough to challenge for the championship for the drivers, but it's been an excellent car. No question about it. John Barnard design, very even-keeled. Does not tax the driver very much. So there we go. That's the end of the series. My goodness, I didn't think we'd end up with just 2 cars finishing. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, that was a a, a drama-filled race, that's for sure. With loads of blown engines and some drivers having accidents. But I think it's like I said before at the start of the broadcast. Adelaide's always one of those tracks that you've got to be careful around, and I think some drivers had issues, but the ones that did make it to the finish, just done well to get there. And I think Grant Riddell, considering the issues he's had with blown engines at times during the season, taking a well-deserved win.
Well, I think this is a race where I think in World War One in Verdun they had less casualty rate than here. But so I mean, when you get such a big casualty rate, anything is possible. Remember Olivier Panis in Monaco?
Yes.
By the time, but this time I think it was well deserved by Grant because he got lucky, obviously, with the engine life that was handed to him at the beginning. But he did absolutely everything in a spectacularly perfect way. He drove fast when he had to. He took off the boost and took out boost and dialed out the speed when he needed to, and he did a fantastic race. It's a shame that Coxon wasn't able to put up a fight against it. As he already indicated in the comments, it seems that Mansell wasn't meant to finish his race, not even in the virtual one.
Well,
but other than that,
Mansell did win it when he came back in '94 for Williams.
Yeah,
right?
but the '86 one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. Well, there's nobody in the green room that I can see right now, so I think we'll just call it a race and call it a series. Again, thanks to both of you very, very much for your role as color commentators. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I hope everybody at home watching enjoyed it as much as we did. Next year, F1 1991. And we'll see how things pan out. There should be another exciting series. So for Ryan Walker and Alberto Ibañez, this is Jason White saying so long from Adelaide. Everybody take care. Happy holidays, happy New Year, and be safe.